A Michigan prosecutor revealed that Rudy Giuliani and other Donald Trump allies asked him to seize his county's voting machines and hand them over. And a Washington Post reporter explained how the new revelation fits into the final days of his presidency. Antrim County prosecutor James Rossiter told the newspaper that Giuliani and others had called him around November 20th, 2020, and pressed him to hand over the voting machines so that they could be examined for fraud as part of an ongoing scheme to undo Trump's loss in Michigan. And journalist Jackie Alemany explained the significance of her colleagues' findings to MSNBC's Morning Joe. Take a look.
Will destroy things that you know you're not supposed to be destroying, but also to removing them and taking they left as they came in, kind of strangely different and slightly corrupt.
Well, and I think that's why those clips that were just played are so important for everyone to remember, especially when this investigation might potentially lead to whether or not this was negligence or actually intentional behavior. But It's clear that the former president knew exactly what was wrong with doing these things. He called out Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton on ripping up documents, taking classified information, accepting gifts, mischaracterizations, because he knew that it was politically damaging and gave the appearances of being corrupt. And that's what I think ultimately the DOJ is going to have to do if they decide ultimately to investigate these 15 boxes that were taken from Mar-a-Lago, which is what the archives has asked them to do, according to our reporting yesterday.
In an interview with the Washington Post, James Rossiter, Republican prosecutor from Antrim County, Michigan, said Rudy Giuliani and other legal advisors to former President Trump asked him to seize his county's voting machines and turn them over to the Trump team. He says Giuliani contacted him 2 weeks after the 2020 election, after the county initially misreported and corrected an inaccurate election count that had Biden beating Trump by 3,000 votes in a district that's a GOP stronghold. The Post reports the inaccurate tally was, quote, an error that soon placed Antrim at the center of false claims by Trump that the election had been stolen. Rossiter refused the request and said, "We don't have that magical power to just demand things as prosecutors. You need probable cause." Even with grounds to take the machines, he added he could not have released them to a party with an interest in the matter. Giuliani has declined to comment. Jackie, this is your reporting as well. I mean, between that and the Georgia phone call, I mean, this administration seemed to be culling for improper votes.
Yeah,
in any way they could.
Somehow, well, it's amazing, first of all, that we're continuing to find so much new information that has yet to be uncovered, which is exactly, what the January 6th committee is doing. But this story especially is just fairly shocking because it shows them actually trying to implement some of their plans that we've seen sketched out in executive orders to seize voting machines. But here is a situation where they dialed in on a specific county and found a reason to do so, despite it being obviously quite unconstitutional. Even in the conversations I've had just in the past few months, there are still a lot of people involved with this effort who believed that these voting machines needed to be seized to be protected so that they could prove fraud. These people are true believers.
Donald Trump's staffers found printouts clogging a White House toilet and believed the former president had flushed the paper, according to a new book by an insider reporter. Maggie Haberman, a New York Times reporter with close ties to the former president and his family, revealed the odd document disposal scheme in her forthcoming book, Confidence Man, reported Axios. Axios co-founder Mike Allen reported that this is the book Trump fears most among Trump aides. Several advisors were unhappy about his decision to talk to her as part of his marathon conversations with book authors at Mar-a-Lago, but they concluded he couldn't help himself and couldn't be stopped. Trump has a long history in his business life of ripping up documents, but that poses a potential legal problem because presidential records must be preserved and turned over to the National Archives, which has reportedly asked the Biden Justice Department to look into his handling of White House records. National Archives officials suspected Trump had possibly violated laws regarding the handling of government documents, and 15 boxes of presidential records were retrieved from Mar-a-Lago after a court ordered them to be turned over to congressional investigators who had subpoenaed them. While in office, the former president blithely flouted the Presidential Records Act, which required him to preserve written communications concerning his official duties, Allen reported. Trump routinely tore up documents, and after leaving office, brought substantial written materials back to Mar-a-Lago. A Trump spokesman didn't respond to a request for comment about the plumbing matter. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to visit us at rawstory.com. And if you'd like to see more of The Raw Report, please like and subscribe, and join others who like their news raw too.